Hey guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Angelisa and on this channel we read, discuss, and obsess over books together. And today we're going to be going through my April wrap-up. This is a little bit late in the month, I know. We're well into May and I'm wrapping up April. However, that is because I did actually read a bit more than I have been recently in April, which I'm excited about. I'm excited to talk about these books. There are 2 rereads in this, a new release, like just so many exciting books to talk about this month. So we're gonna do that. But first, as always, we are going to do storygraph statistics. So for the month of April, I read 9 books for a total of 3,742 pages. Now, when it comes to moods, literally half of my books were emotional and dark, and then followed by tense, and then the rest were adventurous, sad, mysterious, lighthearted, hopeful, and funny. So it was definitely a darker month, very emotional month. Most of my books were standard 300 to 499 pages, but I had one that was under 300 pages and one that was over 500 pages. All of them were fiction this month. When it comes to genres, I had 6 romance, 4 contemporary, 2 thriller, 2 fantasy, 1 young adult, 1 short story, 1 literary, and 1 historical. And my average star rating for the month was 4.28 stars. I had 4 5-star books this month. I think that's amazing. Mind you, 2 of them were rereads, so keep that in mind. But it just says that like I had a great reading month. So I'm gonna start off with my first read of the month, which was The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. So I reread this and I originally planned to just skim it really quick before I jumped into Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas in the same series. I did read this before I started Throne of Glass, but I wanted to just like skim it again because I know about the whole like reading order kind of controversy. But I ended up fully rereading it and literally loved it. I rated it 5 stars again. I think it might be one of my favorite Sarah J. Maas books in general, just because of like how much takes place in this. I think it's an amazing foundation for Selena and the entire series and just the core of who she is, honestly. And you know, the moments with Sam. We just love the moments with Sam. So yeah, first book of the month, really loved it. And I just, yeah, love this. My favorite. Next, I read Ricochet by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Now this one I did rate 4.5 stars. This is the second book in the Addicted to You series, and I really liked this. This was following more Lily as she's dealing with her addiction, and I found it to be very intriguing and interesting. I thought it had a really interesting perspective. I find that this writing is really like fresh and just like raw and just so like, these characters are flawed, but you can't help but love them and feel for them and just want the best for them. So yeah, 4.5 stars. Next, I read Anna O by Matthew Blake. Now, this one I audiobooked most of it, and I did rate this one 4.5 stars. I thought this was super, super fun. Basically, it's about this woman who she is accused of killing these people in her sleep, and it was just such an interesting mystery. It was not at all what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be very more focused on the doctor and Anna O and like sessions with them, kind of like how it is in The Silent Patient, but it was actually a little bit more adventurous, and like we had different kind of like point of views, and I think, was there different timelines? No, there were, it would go back and forth at different years, and it was just very interesting to me. So would definitely recommend. And yeah, just an overall good book. I think, is this a debut? I'm not sure. It might be, but nonetheless, definitely recommend if you're looking for a psychological thriller. Next was another reread, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. So obviously I rated this one 5 stars. I have been doing rereads of ACOTAR because I never annotated them the first time around. When I read A Court of Silver Flames, I did annotate it, and then I was kind of like, I want to go back and annotate the original ones, partially because I know that like there's going to be connections to other series, so I want to go back and like while I'm reading Throne of Glass, kind of see if anything that I'm currently reading reminds me of this. So it's been super fun. I had a lot of annotations, like there's a bunch of tabs in there, and it was just really, really fun, and I'm very excited to move on to ACOWAR next. I also got to listen to the dramatized audiobook of this, and it is so good. I don't think I will ever listen to a regular audiobook for McIntire ever again. It was just so good. Whew. Anyway, moving on. Next, we had another 5-star, Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Now, when I first started reading this, it was a slow start for me. I kind of kept putting it down and then coming back to it, and I only really got to like 3 or 4 chapters before I actually sat down and really started to binge it and killed it. And I absolutely loved it. I know that it's super toxic and I would never accept this from a human being. And honestly, as I was reading it, this might be an unpopular opinion, but like, I love Tom. I don't know if I'm supposed to love him, but I understand the nostalgia of BJ and Magnolia and just like why they're so in love with each other, but I just wish Magnolia like saw her worth. Anyway, besides that, the trashy rich kind of like gossip and entitlement is so fun to read. I understand why people either love this book or hate it. Me personally, loved it. So I will be reading the rest of the series, obviously. Next up was Wretched by Emily McIntire. This is the, I think, third book in the Never After novel series, and I gave this one 3.75 stars. So I didn't love this one as much as Scarred, but I did like it more than Hooked. This one is a Wizard of Oz retelling where like Dorothy has 2 sisters, which I think are supposed to be like the Wicked Witch of the West and East or something. Like obviously they're not called that in this, but that's kind of like where the alignment is with the Wizard of Oz. And there are a few mentions of like, you know, flying monkeys, yellow brick road, but it's not in the way that it is in the actual Wizard of Oz kind of movie or story. It's more of like a mob, kind of like undercover detective trying to arrest a mob family kind of deal. So it is dual POV. I thought it was really, really fun. I thought the spicy scenes were really, really good. Ultimately, it was a little bit frustrating at times and it just wasn't my favorite, but I would still give it a go and I'm still going to read. I think the next ones are Twisted and Crossed. So I'm definitely going to read those because I've heard great things about those. And I'm just like, I do enjoy this writing style. It is a little bit of like a dark romance, but not too dark. So I really enjoyed it. Next we have the book club book of the month for my workplace, my full-time job. And it was actually Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I've been wanting to read this for a while. So this was actually a very interesting book. I ended up rating it 3.75 stars. It's a very controversial book. Very interesting because basically R.F. Kuang is an Asian writer. She wrote Babel, I think that's how you say it, or Babel, as well as, it's definitely Babel, what am I saying? As well as the Poppy War trilogy. And in this, she is writing about, in the point of view of a white woman who steals the manuscript of a book that is about the Chinese labor camps and like how they were involved in World War I and what their kind of like perspective was as they were experiencing it and the racism that they experienced and just the trauma and how no one's really covered this part of history publicly like this. So she steals this manuscript from her Asian friend, her Chinese friend, who dies, chokes and dies, and publishes it as her own. And yeah, the book goes through topics like Yellowface, you know, committing Yellowface, as well as just like who should be writing certain stories. Like, should a white author be writing about a black person's kind of experience, or say someone who hasn't experienced a certain traumatic experience, should they be writing about that traumatic experience, even if it's fictional or whatever? Because do they even have the understanding or able to like empathize with that person, and is that their story to tell? That's kind of like the whole question in this book, and it's interesting how the book kind of goes back and forth arguing that, and it just gives you a lot to think about as a reader. So I really enjoyed it. Ultimately, I did give it 3.75 stars because the ending was very lackluster for me, and I really hated the main character. And I know that you're supposed to, but like I did not like a single character in this at all. And I know that it's supposed to be that way, but yeah, I just wish I at least like liked one of the characters. Moving on, next was An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. I'm not even gonna talk about this book for too long. I love the Bridgerton series, the TV series. I loved the first 2 books. I think I rated The Duke and I 3 stars or something, or 3.5 stars, and then The Viscount Who Loved Me I rated 4 stars. This one I rated 2 stars. I really did not love Benedict in this. I know that it's based in the early 1800s and that like mistresses and like women's innocence, like all that stuff is a thing. Like I get it, society opinions, totally get it. I think I just didn't feel like he actually loved the main love interest, so it was really hard for me to root for them and for me to even like forgive her when she took him back. So yeah, for that reason I didn't really like it, but I still just love reading the series, and I love the second epilogues because you get to learn about all the other characters too and like updates on them. And this did have a bit of like development for the 4th book, which is, as we know, Penelope and Colin's story. So anyway, moving on. The last book that I read in April was Funny Story by Emily Henry. It came out at the end of the month and I immediately had to read it. I knew that I needed to read this book and I rated it 5 stars. It deserves every single star and more. Go ahead and watch the reading vlog that I posted if you want to watch me cry for half of it. But basically, this book just like tore me to pieces. And I feel like Emily Henry is just an author that everybody in their 20s needs to experience. And it is not meant to be a romance book or a book where you get this nice fluffy romance experience. It is meant to be a book that tears you out and just lays everything out on the floor, everything raw and disgusting and just aggravating that you hate about your life that you need to now confront in the form of her books. And it's actually very healing and helpful and helped me process some things that I've been struggling with for like 5 months now. So yeah, anyway, definitely read this book. It might be one of my favorite Emily Henry books now. Well guys, that was everything that I read for the month of April. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. Definitely comment down below what you read in April. I always love to hear what you guys read. And yeah, let's just talk about books together, please. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye.